Thank you very much, Annabelle, for that really insightful rundown of how you can rise from all the challenges that are, all the curveballs that are thrown towards you and just get to where you are. So thank you very much. And thank you, Bisola, for this opportunity. And thank you, everybody that is in the room today. I'm not sharing any slides for this session because I just felt like I have been going through quite a lot in terms of looking at my research and looking at all the other presentations that I've made about it. So it was time for me to sort of like step away a little bit from there and just tell the story and give my reflection on some of the work. But before I go into that, I'll just tell you a little bit more about the background and where I'm at my research. So when I started looking at highly skilled migrants in and their journey into leadership position, and initially I called it self-inclusion, it was coming from a frustration, partly as a professional myself, and some of the challenges that I've had in my life in terms of moving from one job to another, moving from one industry to another as well. And with full cognizance that I am a fighter and I do go in places where normally they would be challenging, but even with that, there would be the small microaggressions that would get to you and then you end up not going forward. So a few years ago, I decided to leave the NHS, a very senior leadership role, and start my own coaching business and helping people to write books. Now, as a Black woman, most of the clients that came to me, that gravitated towards me, were ethnic minorities, not just Black people, but just generally ethnic minorities who were struggling in middle management positions. And one of the challenges that I saw was when you ask how many times somebody has applied for a job. And from the people that I saw, there was a little bit of, in my opinion, giving up, not chasing the job. So I decided to come to the university, Montfort University, because I wanted to find out a little bit more what was behind that. But very quickly, when I started my research, I realized that I was on the deep end. First, I was a practitioner through and through, so I struggled a little bit at the beginning. But also, what I found was I had to take the step back, forget about what I thought I knew, and actually go and explore the area. So within the literature review, I found some of the challenges that opened up with the gap in the research, that I found that even if all ethnic minorities have issues when they go to a different country, most of the times they are what is called the ethnic hierarchies. And these ethnic hierarchies, unfortunately, Black women were found to be very highly skilled, maybe with 2-3 master's degree. And at one point, I actually taught somebody who was on her 4th master's degree, and asking her why she was on her 4th master's degree. She just wanted opportunities. And so with that, I narrowed down my research, because I was told you're not going to solve the problems of the world. So I narrowed down my research to actually focus on Black African highly skilled migrants. Why I focused on this demographic, because I found that even if we had very high qualifications, we were the ones most likely to be found in lower paid jobs in middle management and getting stuck. And the few that managed to go towards leadership positions, they left. And unfortunately, that was my story as well. It's a story for another day, but that was my story as well, in terms of leaving my job and going to start my own business. At that point, I didn't think of it that way, but through my research and reflecting, I can look at myself in the mirror. Now, I'm sharing today one of the themes that I wanted to focus on and zone in today was the same issue of qualifications. Throughout my research, I've interviewed 31 women, and out of those women, there are only 2 that had a postgraduate certificate on top of their bachelor's degree. The rest have had a master's degree, 2 master's degree, and so. And the one one of the ones that had the postgraduate certificate was actually a chief executive in an organization. So then this kept me, when I was doing my data analysis, when I'm looking at my data and coding, I realized that actually there are 3 categories that were coming up. There were 3 themes that were coming up within that educational theme. One of them was looking at getting more qualifications. So is it a refuge? Is it to get competitive advantage, or do we use it as a stronghold? So getting it as a refuge, if I start with that one, so that goes with a number of women that mentioned that when they've tried and tried and tried and they're not getting anywhere, they see people, especially people like in the health service where most people are nurses, they'll start at band 5 because they come in at band 5 and they finish their qualifications. They're there for 5 years. They get their indefinite leave to remain, but they stay at band 5. And each year they're seeing young people, native young people coming into the roles at band 5. They end up, the migrants end up teaching the work to those young people. And then next year, those young people are in band 6, band 7, and they're going to leadership and they're staying in the same place. And for them, when the frustration gets really bad, that is the refuge. They would go back to education. So I'll just go and get another master's degree. Maybe this will help me to move forward. Why am I not being accepted? So that's the kind of like going back to education as a refuge because I've had enough. The second one was the stronghold. The stronghold is where people use education as a little bit somewhere in between the competitive advantage, seeing it as it's going to take me somewhere. But when they feel like they are being attacked within the organization, so going through this, even the issue of in this category, there was a relationship between having education as a stronghold, but also on the other side, being labeled an angry Black woman. Now that is a lot of people would say, some people would say, oh, no, that's not right to call that. But it is real, it is in research, it is in books that Black women, because of the way we come out, because of the way we deal with issues, sometimes we are labeled the angry Black woman. Despite all the little microaggressions that we face in the workplace. So these women will then take this opportunity of getting an extra qualification so that they can be able to fight, to attack, to say, I am in this position, this is me, this is my place, and I am here and I am more qualified than you. So in some cases, that has led to getting a higher position, but in some other cases, it hasn't. What it has led to is them being given extra opportunity without extra pay. So role creep, as they call it. So you have a position, but then because your managers have seen that you work very hard because you've got this other, oh, can you please do this? Can you act in this position? And then when it comes to filling up that position, somebody else takes the position as well. So again, there is the loss of a little bit of yourself there. Your identity gets questions. The other group, mostly those that have managed to get into a leadership position, is they use the education as their they use the education as their competitive advantage. So when they go for interviews, they have that to share, which is different from other people. And that in itself came with this thing of losing a bit about yourself. And we saw in the previous topic, the men's topic, I think Dr. Mumbi mentioned about the culture. So these women are not really using that as a culture thing, but they're seeing it as something that will push them forward to be able to go into the in group, so to say, to go into the white people's group where they would feel they would have that competitive advantage in the room when they're holding a meeting without being mistaken for somebody that's making the coffee until they start chairing a meeting. So with those 3 in mind, I've asked myself a lot of these questions over time, and I'm throwing that question to you as well. Should we use education as a competitive advantage, a stronghold, or is it a refuge for us? And just to finish with that is, I think one of the main things that the ones that have used this as a competitive advantage is they have learned to leverage those networks in the journey as they go up. So that is my story on that theme. It is a wide theme. I've just tried to narrow it quite down into a few points. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Bisola.
Thank you, Amina. for the wonderful presentation. I mean, it's something I will be thinking about the whole week. I know myself, I'm one of the co-moderators. I've actually talked about this, and I think it's something that we might need to discuss more and more, just to allow others that are coming in understand what they should and not to do. You know, sometimes you see someone picking courses, like when I mean courses, I'm talking about postgraduate courses over and over again, just to help them you know, prolong the number of years they have, and then before they think of what to do, and issues like that.